Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful idea, inspired by the book Designing Your Life. What if you could stop just planning your future and actually start building it one little experiment at a time?
You know that feeling like you're just stuck? Or maybe you're constantly wondering if you're even on the right path. Well, if you've ever felt that way, you are definitely not alone. It turns out that feeling of being off course is pretty much the norm, and the data really shows us why.
Check this out. Only about 27% of college grads actually end up working in a field that's even related to their major. So that big master plan we all felt so much pressure to create, for most of us, it was out of date almost immediately. And it gets crazier. 2/3 of workers, that's 2 out of every 3 people, say they're disengaged at their jobs. That is a massive number of people just, going through the motions day in and day out. But here's the real kicker. Only 1 in 5 young people actually has a clear idea of what they want to do. So if you feel lost, you're not doing something wrong. You're actually in the majority.
So what is going on here? Well, the core of the problem is that we're taught to treat life like it's a math equation with one right answer. Find the perfect plan, and you're set. But life doesn't work that way. It's not a linear plan. It's a messy, interesting design problem.
Okay, so there's this great story about a guy named Dave. In high school, he was totally convinced his destiny was to be a marine biologist. Why? Because he loved watching Jacques Cousteau on TV and thought sea lions were awesome. So he gets into a top university for biology, starts his classes, and then has this horrifying realization he absolutely hates biology. He had spent years designing a solution for a problem he didn't even have.
And this leads to a really cool design concept: gravity problems. I love this. Think about it. You can't argue with gravity, right? It's just there. You can't wish it away. So instead of wasting all your energy fighting things you can't change, a designer just accepts them as reality and starts designing a solution that works with them.
Okay, so if following a rigid step-by-step plan is the wrong way to go, what's the right way? The answer is to make a shift in your thinking. Stop thinking like an engineer, trying to solve a single problem, and start thinking like a designer.
This is such a critical distinction. An engineering mindset is fantastic when there's one best answer. But your life, it is definitely not a math problem. A designer doesn't start with the final answer. They start with curiosity. They brainstorm a ton of possibilities and just embrace this kind of messy, hands-on process of building and learning as they go.
And this whole designer approach really boils down to 5 key attitudes. It's about being curious, always. It's about having a bias to action. Just try stuff instead of getting stuck in your head. It's about reframing problems when you hit a wall. But honestly, the last 2 might be the most important. Remembering it's a lifelong process and asking for help. Because designing your life, it's a team sport, for sure.
So this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? Well, the very first tool in your new life design toolkit is incredibly simple. You just have to figure out where you are right now.
It's like looking at one of those maps at the mall, right? Before you can figure out how to get to the store you're looking for, the very first thing you have to do, the most important thing, is find that little star that says, "You are here." The exact same principle applies to your life.
So a really easy way to find your "you are here" spot is to think of your life as a car's dashboard. And on that dashboard, there are 4 main gauges. You've got health, that's your mind, body, and spirit. You've got work, which is your job or career. Then there's play, and this is so important. It's stuff you do just for the fun of it, no other purpose. And finally, love, which covers all your important relationships.
So, take a second right now. Just a quick gut check. On a scale from, say, empty to full, how are your gauges looking? For so many of us, that work gauge is filled to the brim, maybe even overflowing, while the play gauge is sputtering on empty. Just seeing it laid out like this can be a huge wake-up call and show you exactly where things are out of balance.
All right, so you know where you are. Now, for the really fun part, dreaming up where you could go next. And the trick here is to remember you are not looking for one single perfect path.
And for this, we use this amazing tool called an Odyssey plan. The whole point is not to find the one right answer. Nope. It's about generating options by mapping out 3 totally different versions of your life over the next 5 years.
Okay, life number 1. This one's easy. It's basically your current life, just fast-forwarded 5 years. You take what you're doing right now in your career and just imagine where that path leads.
Now for life number 2, imagine that first path just poof, it's gone. Your entire industry disappears overnight, your job is automated. What would you do then?
This forces you to think about all your other skills and interests that you're not using right now.
And then, life number 3. This is the fun one, the wild card. This is the life you would live if money was no object and you didn't care one bit what anyone else thought. Would you go manage a dog sanctuary? Move to Italy and learn to make pasta? This is where you uncover those hidden dreams.
Okay, so now you've got these 3 awesome, totally different futures mapped out. They all probably sound kind of cool. So, how do you pick? Well, here's the secret sauce. You don't. You don't guess, you prototype.
See, instead of doing something huge and risky, like quitting your job tomorrow to enroll in culinary school, designers build these tiny, cheap experiments. The point isn't to succeed or fail. The point is to learn something as fast as possible.
And there are a couple of really easy ways to do this. The first is what they call prototype conversations. So instead of dropping everything to become a chef, just go have a coffee with one. Ask them what their day is really like, the good, the bad, all of it. The second is prototype experiences. Go volunteer in a restaurant kitchen for a weekend. Take a knife skills workshop. Get a real feel for it.
And this brings us to an idea that totally flips that old saying, follow your passion, right on its head. The designers of this method argue that for most of us, passion isn't something you find hiding under a rock. It's something that shows up after you try things, get engaged, and start to build some skills. Action comes first, passion follows.
So at the end of the day, designing your life isn't about making one giant perfect plan. It's a creative, hands-on process of building your way forward. So the only question that really matters is, what's one small prototype you can build this week?